Hello, and thanks for looking back at the channel. And instead of being up in the railway room, I'm down in my little clock repairing workshop, so don't be put off if during the video there's a little bit of banging or striking or sort of clock noise, because it is all around us. Now let's get on to what I want to talk to you about this week. Now we've got another mystery box under here, and this came to light the other day when I was searching. And if you do remember, 2 or 3 months ago, you might remember that I was in the process of trying to find as many of the Tri-ang Industrial 040 steam locos that I could find. Now the hunt's still going strong, and back then I was primarily looking for blue Connie and yellow Connie. So I've been somewhat successful, so I'm going to share that with you in a minute. But I'm finding looking for these to be really exciting, because I'm just going into places I haven't been for a little while and turning up some interesting stuff. So we'll get into that in a minute. But look, here is a Polly. And this one says number 9. Now what's interesting is I just fetched this box one out, and that's got a running number of 6. And I'm getting a bit perplexed with this, because I always thought Connie was number 6. So if any of you know all the different running numbers that these things were sort of given, it would be great to hear, because I think that there's possibly 1 or 2 different ones, and it's a little bit out of my knowledge area knowing which ones were issued to which. But I always thought that Polly was 9, Nellie was 7, and Connie was 6. So yeah, could be that I'm wrong. So here's a Nellie, that's definitely number 7, and looks good in that blue, doesn't it? So I have got one in a box here. We did look at it briefly a little while ago, but just to confirm, this one does indeed have a 7 on it. But I'm going to just put that to the side, because we've got these excellent unboxed ones to play with. Now just here is an R.355G. I do believe that's correct. Let's have a look. R.355G, £2.03. Gosh, well, that puts it pre-decimal. So a beautiful green version of the same loco. But yet again, for now, I'm just going to put that to the side. So while searching the other day, I came across this. Now I was looking for this loco when I ran the Lord Westwood just a few videos ago, because they both are the same sort of red with numbers along, and this one with its beautiful steam dome. They're just toys, aren't they? But they just look superb. So check this out. What I'm thinking, because when I run these little locos on the Super 4 layout, they do, no matter how well you clean them, they do not like slow running over points or crossovers. So I thought, I know how we can get past that. And I went upstairs and I found this little bag of connectors I'd got in my electrical workshop. So the beauty of these is the wire's very thin, supple. You've got this little plug and socket, and I just thought, wouldn't it be great to just run the wires underneath the body shell, hide the connector down by the couplings, and join 2 locos together, so we can have fun double heading these around the main layout. The fact that we'll have 4 axles picking up at the same time should rule out any stuttering. So I was thinking, okay, we've got the upward main line, the downward main line. I need 2 pairs. So that's why I doubled the intensity of my search for my Connies, because a blue Connie would go very nicely with a blue Nellie. So let's see where that's led me to go. So I'm just putting these to the side. I'm going to lift this lid. So right, off we go, and we are transported right back to the early 1960s in this box, and the sharp-eyed among you will perhaps see who's nestling in this corner. So let's go straight in here. So a number 6, so let's just remind ourselves, Nelly is number 7. Goodness me, right, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I wonder if that, I'm not a naval person, but 7 bells could be rum time. So maybe I'll treat myself after this video. Now, this hasn't got a motor, but it is a Connie, even though the nameplates are missing. So a little bit of restoration is required, and I've been into the spares box, and let's just look at that. A really grubby but serviceable XO4. So that's going in there. And then with some of those wires, we should be able to create a lovely double header. Now what I will have to do is see if I can make or get some nameplates, and then I think we'll have Connie at the head of the blue train and Polly ahead of the red train. Now there isn't going to be incompatibility. Now I think that some of these had a CAN motor, but luckily enough this is still XO4, so they'll run nicely together, though it has got some glorious plated wheels, which are very smart. Right, well that's upcoming. Now hopefully it'll be next week up in the railway room, but I am very busy next week, so if I don't get time for that upload, it will be the week after. But rest assured, that's what we're going to be doing next on the Super 4 Railway. Now we're going to sort of divert away, so hopefully you'll stick with me, because I think you might find it interesting. We've got a box here from 3 different manufacturers, but we're going to start off with the Britain's items. Now Britain's toys, they made soldiers and lead figures, they then went on to plastic figures, they made all sorts of different things, but one of their mainstays were working scale farm models. Now it's such a shame these aren't the right scale to go with the railway, because they are beautiful items, but we'll take a look at them. Now most of these I think were probably produced in this country. Nowadays they're produced of course in China, and Britain's is under the ownership I believe of Tomy, T-O-M-Y, Tomy, I hope I've said that right. But I do believe that they do design work and drawings and other things still in the UK, and they do have a remarkable range of scale items to enjoy. I did take a look at some on the internet. But we're going right back now to when these things were made in Birmingham or Nottingham or somewhere like that. And let's start with the earlier of the items in this box, probably from the early 1960s. This is a Fordson Super Major. Now the first tractor they produced, I believe, was a Fordson E27N, which was known as a high major. Now that would have been from the late 40s to the mid to late 50s, and then this one came along. Now I don't have one of the early ones, so I'm going to make do with this, but a lovely model. Check it out, very crisp, metal wheels, rubber tyres. I think the front wheels are possibly plastic, I can't tell, but just beautiful. And you've got the steering wheel linked to the front axle, so lots of play value. You've got a pin so you can put trailers or other pulled along implements, and more importantly you've got a hydraulic lift, and that's fantastic for many attachments. Indeed, I wonder whether I can just show you this cultivator, and if I can just get it in position, which on the camera seems to be a bit of, no, oops, that didn't go in. It's just a question of getting the lugs, there we are, the right side. So very attractive looking combination, and of course you can raise the cultivator up, so if you were playing with the item you've got the option of having it in the downward position or upward position, but lots and lots of play value. Now all the drivers seem to have gone missing unfortunately, so probably decided to have a break somewhere. There we go. Now there's a different version of that, probably my favourite really, because it's got these really great iron or spade lug metal wheels, and they look good, don't they? Now these were definitely very much in place on the previous E27N tractor. I don't know how many Fordson Super Majors had them, but they look good. Now the tractor evolved from a Power Major, which looks identical, just a few horsepower less and a few features less. Now that's a Corgi one, look, and that does indeed say Power Major Fordson. But look at this thing. I'm just going to put the Britain's one down now, because Corgi had a fantastic idea, didn't they? Look at that chimney. It's got like this excellent spring, so when you're playing with that with your friends or family, you're not going to break it off, whereas it's easy to break things off more detailed toys. So Corgi, they really got it right with that, I think. And indeed, it's a bit strange, it's a bit of an interesting thing that they modelled this farm tractor with an underslung exhaust, which would have normally been reserved for industrial tractors, you know, tractors that worked around large warehouse complexes or airports or places like that, because the farming tractor normally had its exhaust discharge through the bonnet. And indeed, if we move forward a few years, here's the next iteration. This is a Britain's Ford, and it is a Super Major. They called it a Super Major. You can just see perhaps Super Major in the plastic behind the Ford there, but it is actually a Ford 5000. And that's got a really nice plastic exhaust and an air filter at the front. But check out the wheels now. What's happened to those, I bet you ask? Well, here's the difference. Here's the Super Major, and here's the newer Super Major 5000. So we've got metal wheels on the older model, and then we've gone over to a plastic, and unfortunately the plastic, it doesn't like the tyre. It is removable, and the two have sort of combined, and then we get a reaction, which is a bit of a shame. But I did Google it, and collectors of these items sort of know about this, and I think they tend to accept it, but it is a shame. And of course, if you were really wanting it to look very much better, you can get replacement wheels, but they do affect the originality. And indeed, the second model in the box has gone very much the same way. So I mean, when you think back to our trains and the acetate models of Tri-ang in the 50s and all the way that plastic's moved, and even metal like the Mazak and things like that, you know, we can get deterioration. And when these things now, we're looking at toys that are, you know, the best part of 50, 60 years old. So it is understandable perhaps that some of the materials haven't aged quite as well, but it's still recognisable. It's still a great item. And this especially, if I go back to it, because it is my personal favourite, with those wonderfully detailed metal wheels, it's just a beautiful item, something to put on the shelf. And I have been told, unfortunately, not any shelf. If it does go on a shelf, it's got to be somewhere in my personal space, which is like a lot of my things, unfortunately, not accepted in the modern household. So here we have a die-cast tow-along plough. Now, why they sold this to go with an old E27N, I don't quite know. 4 furrows, take a bit of pulling, that would, especially if your soil was clay. There we've got another plough and a trailer. I like this thing. I'm just going to show you this quickly, because this is just an awesome accessory. So not only can we put things, tow them along or lift them on the hydraulic arms, we've got the other accessories that fit to the front of the tractor. And if I can clip it on, yep, that's gone in nicely. It locates in some lugs below the radiator and another location under the gearbox, and it gives you an accessory that you can fit on the front of your tractor, and lots of fun pushing things out of the way with that. And when you're finished, you can raise it up. So quite cool. Here's a Britain's accessory, so designed to be towed along, some disc harrows. Another plough, and look, what a dear little thing this is. This is a Corgi toy, and it's a little Massey Ferguson, not quite as sophisticated as the Britons. It's just got a wheel that does nothing and a little tow hook, but it's still a lovely item. And along with the Power Major that Corgi made, it's a couple of lovely toys to just display somewhere. Right, this video is going on a bit longer than I thought, so I'm going to wrap it up in a minute, but I just want to look at a couple of other things. A Corgi trailer, there's some other items in there, but look, Lesney. Let's get to Matchbox and Lesney, because they just made beautiful things. And that's fully die cast, or whatever it's made of, Mazak, I don't know, white metal. I don't know what it's made of, but it's metal. And it's just beautiful. It's a traction engine. Look at the intricacy of those rear wheels. And the flywheel revolves. And it's still in great condition. And there are a handful in the box. So I do think I ought to get those out. Along with them is a road roller, so the sort of thing that would be squashing down all the tarmac on the road years ago. Be interesting to do a comparison in real life, wouldn't it? A steamroller up against a modern diesel one. Who squeezes the road better? Be interesting to get the result of that. And the final item in the box is this lovely Showman's engine. Look at the colours on that. And of course, the reason these were at the fair, this device at the front, a generator or dynamo. I don't know what you alternator, I don't know what it would be termed as. I don't know whether it was a DC producing device or an AC device back in the day, but it generated electricity. There would have been a belt from the flywheel around, and the reason these things were chuffing around at the fairground was they produced all the electricity for some of the rides, all the wonderful light bulbs and some of the other necessities of the fair. So they worked hard, so they weren't there just to look good, they had a job. Okay, well, I really hope you've enjoyed checking out some of these items, because Britain's, another manufacturer that started off years and years ago in the UK, does survive, which is great, part of the Tomy Empire. Unlike Mamod, who unfortunately I read recently, who made model steam engines, which some of us might have had when we were younger. They have now unfortunately succumbed to the times. So it is important that we remember these items, or try and just get some enjoyment from them, or look at them occasionally, because it just worries me that there's not much of a replacement for some of these things coming along today. I know we've got wonderful kits that we can put together and decorate, but off the shelf, bespoke sort of items are getting rarer to find, though I do think Oxford Diecast do an excellent job, don't they, of small 00 and N gauge items that we can put around our layout, and I do find myself drawn to their display if I'm ever in the model shop. Right, well, that about wraps it up for this week. I've got some work cut out getting these double headers sorted out. I hope you'll come back next time to watch them on the layout, but for now, thanks for looking at this video, and I'll say goodbye.